Okay guys, so following on from the stability integration, we want to do what we call reactive integration. So what that's doing is that's going to help get the muscles that were underactive, so our tibialis anterior and posterior, and we're going to get them to switch on, but switch on quicker. Okay, so they fire faster, they're not so late to the party, which they have been before. So you might see that when you land on the floor, you take a step, or you do a squat and then your feet kind of turn up and then they kind of come back in again, or your knees kind of bow in and bow back into normal again. We kind of see this kind of going on, like you might do a squat and then they kind of correct themselves, or the knee will kind of come in and come out a little bit. That does happen. Basically, they don't fire as quickly as they should do. So whenever we land or we run, especially when we're striking the ground, we really need these muscles to switch on quick. If they don't switch on quick enough, again, same as before, we don't absorb the forces coming up from the ground very well. That can put stress on the ankle, the knee, the hip, the back, the spine, all that can could potentially cause damage, or because we don't distribute the forces particularly well. So we need those muscles to really switch on as quick as they can. So all well and good activating it, but again, we want to make sure that they fire the way they should do, firing at the right time. So these are a bit of a progression. You may want to introduce these a little later. You could try it from the beginning. I'm going to show you some easier ones, and we do some harder ones. So first one we're going to do is walking on the heels. So what I will say, guys, is if you don't want to do this in public, I totally get it. I totally understand. You will look a little bit like a duck or a penguin. We do call this the penguin walk at the Brooks Institute, where I work, which I teach workshops for. When we get a whole class of people to do this. It is quite funny, but it is super effective. So yeah, we have fun at the Brooks Institute where we're teaching people, how to do this. It is a bit of a sight, I won't lie, but there you go. But no, it is very effective. It will help to get that tibialis anterior firing much quicker. So do it in private if you want to do it. I totally get it. But what we're going to be doing is you're going to lift your heels up. Sorry, lift your feet up rather. Plant your heels into the ground, I should say. So feet up. You're going to turn them in, toes under, just like what we were doing with the activation before, the isolated activation, where we were pulling the feet up, turning them in. So I've got them up, turned in. All I'm doing, I'm going to lock out my knees, squeeze my glutes, make sure I'm nice and tall, not bending forward. I'm nice and tall, and I'm just walking on my heels, keeping them turned in. There you go, I can go back and do it, keeping them turned in. I mostly want to be going forward, so I could do like a little circle, just walking around the room. Like I said, it is a bit of a sight if you had a class of 20 or 30 people doing it, which is, like I said, a bit of a sight. But again, I can go forward, I can go back, I can go sideways a few steps. But what I'm doing is I'm keeping the feet up, I'm keeping them turned in, I'm keeping the toes under. Remember, keeping the toes under will stop the toe extensors, the muscles that try to take over for this tibialis anterior. So we want to keep them shut down. So toes under, feet up, turned in, and we're just walking on the heels. We're not letting the whole foot come down. We're not letting the feet turn out when we're doing it. We're not having any of this. We're keeping them here, keeping them straight, keeping them turned in, and we're just walking back and forth. You can do it in a circle. You can do it up to maybe one end of the corridor and come back, whichever way you want to do it. I'd say 30 seconds to a minute. You can challenge yourselves. You can do it for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes if you really wanted to, but 30 seconds to a minute should be sufficient. You will really feel that activate. You will really feel that switch on in the shins. So that's a great starting point for the tibialis anterior. So to really get it firing in a timely manner. Cool. Okay guys, so a progression for the tibialis anterior reactive activations. So we did the funny penguin heel walks things before. That was good fun. So, or maybe for some of us. So what we can do after that is we can actually progress onwards. Let's up my shoelaces so I don't fall over. So what we're going to do afterwards is, if we've got that down, we're comfortable with that, we want to now increase the demand on that tibialis anterior, increase the load, increase the amount of force it's having to absorb and stabilize. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're just going to hop forward. So you could do this with 2 feet. You know, you could just have your feet on your hands on your hips, 2 feet straight, and you could just do like a little bunny hop forward. We're going to land on our heels and make sure our second and third toe is straight and forward. So just going to look like, just like that. Again, you can see I've landed, feet are pretty good, second and third toe forward. And again, I'm hip width, my knees aren't collapsing in. I'm in a good little position. Again, if I do it from the side, I'm just going to start here. And again, I'm just going to do a little hop. Again, I'm stabilising, I'm not crashing, I'm not collapsing. I'm just stabilising, I'm not making too much noise either. I'm not banging into the ground, I'm just nice and smooth. As my mentor always says, try and be a little ninja. As Brent Brookbush always says, just try and be as quiet as you can, like a little ninja. So I find that's a good cue. So feet straight. Again, we're just going to do a little hop, stabilise, keep it there. Now, that can be a bit tricky, so doing 2 feet. So you can just try one leg. I actually sometimes find this easy for people to do. So we're just going to do one leg, hop to balance. And you might even just want to start with a step and then go to one leg. Try and add that balance component into it as well. So just stepping forward, landing on the heel, second and third toe straight, and just balance. If you want to, you could just do a bit of a step, almost like a step hop, a bit of a step, and then you could just tap that foot down. So that's a real regression. Okay, so if you're struggling with hopping and balancing, you could try that. So you could just do a little step, have that foot down. Maybe start with that, then we can go to what we're trying to get to is more of a hop, stabilize. Okay, so as you can see, I'm hopping forward, pushing off my left, landing on my right, keeping my heel, striking with my heel. So I'm getting heel strike. I'm not landing on the forefoot or on the ball of the foot. I'm not trying to do that for tibialis anterior. I'm trying to land on the heel, making sure I get my second and third toe forward. So one more time, I'm going to push off. I'm going to balance, and it's important we stick the landing. We want to hold it for a good 2 to 3 seconds. Maybe longer if you want to, but a good 2 to 3 seconds. What I don't want to do is this. I don't want to hop, push back off, no, or just kind of land and then kind of collapse. I'm not looking to do that. I'm trying to stabilize forward. So every time I land, I want to make sure I'm stable, I'm strong. So then that puts me in a really good, strong position to then take another step and go to the next position. So if you think about it from a sporting point of view, if you're like a football player, if you run, if you have to turn, say you plant your foot, if you're just collapsing, doesn't give you in a good, that doesn't really put you in a good position to take the next step. Say you're trying to go around the defender, you're landing forward with the ball, and then you need to turn. Or if you're just kind of collapsing, then you're just losing all your momentum. You're not going to be able to get around your defender or get to where you're going very well. So we want to make sure that we're always planted, we're stable, and then we're in a good strong position to move into the other direction, or whichever direction we're going, and we can get the most amount of force we can get there as quick as we can. So that's what we're trying to do. And also the other important thing is, remember, we're trying to stabilize. We're not trying to crash. You know, we want to keep all this stable. Think back to the stability integration videos. We're trying to keep this joint as stable as possible. Okay, so no good if we're just kind of going everywhere, just kind of falling into a bit of a mess. So that's what we're trying to do. So let's just recap one more time. So what we're trying to get to is that hop, land, hold it, second and third toe forward, stabilize it. Okay, if you want to make it harder, you can just go further, just get more power. So I'm going to come a bit further back, generate more force, land, keep my knee slightly soft, keep my glute tight, core in, stick it and land it. So one more. So I'm going to come back, I'm going to drive forward, stick it, land it, knees soft and not locking my knee, just keeping it soft. And keep it there 2 to 3 seconds. And then I can move on. If I want to progress it, I can add some different planes in. So I did forward, which was sagittal plane. But remember, especially if you're an athlete, like I just mentioned before, if you're like a football player or a basketball player, you're turning all the time. So maybe we take it out of the sagittal plane, so that forward motion, and we start adding some transverse, some rotational movement in. Okay, so what that would look like is, again, I'm going to start this one, I'm going to keep with my right leg. So I'm going to start on my left, and I'm going to push off, and I'm going to rotate and stabilize. Okay, so one more time, I'm going to start here. I'm going to rotate 90 degrees to the right, land, stick that land in. I'm going to do it this way so you guys can see as well. So nice 90-degree turn. Bit more power that time, which is a little bit tougher to stabilise. And again, I still landed heel down first, heel to toe, second and third toe forward. Maybe I'm a little bit too much turned in that way. Let's do one more. So I'm here, 90-degree turn, hop. Oh, needed the sofa that time. I'm going to get one more. Ready? So rotate, hop. There we go. Going to keep that knee soft, squeeze that glute, core in. Good few seconds there. Okay, so there's some progressions how you can really ramp up the tibialis anterior. There's loads of other progressions you can do. You can do box jumps, you can do rotating box jumps, loads of crazy stuff. But they're a good set of progressions there for you guys to start with.